The stars went quiet first. Across the fractured nations of Earth, astronomers noted the silence, a sudden, suffocating absence in the cosmic hum. Then came the blooms, iridescent fissures splitting the night sky like veins, throbbing with a light that seared retinas and left afterimages of half-glimpsed geometries. No warnings, no demands. The Zyrath Dominion did not announce their arrival. They unfolded, their ships birthing from the cracks in reality, sleek and organic, their hulls shimmering with the wet luster of predators' eyes. They called it a covenant, a mercy. Humanity, gutted by climate wars and crumbling under the weight of its own entropy, was deemed worthy of preservation, so long as it obeyed. Every year, on the solstice stained violet by their atmospheric engines, the Dominion selected an emissary, a single soul offered not to gods or tradition, but to an algorithm none could decipher. The chosen were never seen again, though rumors pooled like blood. Whispers of a sentient station orbiting a black hole, of experiments that stripped flesh from meaning, of a ruler who collected civilizations like trinkets. Governments spun the ritual as honor. Survivors called it predation dressed in velvet. But in the dust-choked corners where power didn't bother to look, a question festered. What did the Zyrath truly fear? Their ships hovered impervious, their tech defied physics, yet they craved something brittle, mortal, human. On the eve of the seventh selection, a storm gathered in the dead zone where Sol once stood. Neon-lit rain slashed through derelict drones as a figure crouched in the ruins, her gloves slick with stolen code. She did not pray. She did not hope. She traced the glyphs scarring her forearm, relics of a war she'd waged alone, and watched the sky fracture anew. The algorithm had chosen. Somewhere a station hungry for paradox stirred. And the stars began to scream. Chapter 1. The sky over New Shanghai bled, not with rain, not with ash, but with the slow, syrupy drip of Zyrath bioluminescence, a fungal glow that clung to the atmosphere like oil on water. It stained the ruins of skyscrapers in hues of violet and bruise blue, their skeletal frames strung with alien vines that pulsed as though breathing. Dr. Kaela Voss walked beneath them, her boots crunching over glass shards fossilized by time and neglect. She kept her gaze low, avoiding the sight of the Dominion's ships hovering like obsidian wasps above the city. Their underbellies throbbed with veins of light, a mockery of stars. They're watching, always watching. Her gloved hand drifted to the neural implant at her temple, a relic of Earth's last war. It hummed faintly, a static itch beneath her skin. The Zyrath had outlawed such tech, of course, too human, too unpredictable, but Kaela had rewired hers in the guts of abandoned servers, splicing stolen Dominion code into its firmware. A petty rebellion, maybe, but it kept her sane. The implant whispered to her now, translating the hum of nearby Zyrath drones into cold, clinical data. Heart rates. Threat levels, the sour tang of human fear. She turned down an alley where the biolight dimmed, swallowed by shadows. Here the walls wept condensation, and the air reeked of decay, rotting rations, fungal blooms, the metallic afterbirth of Zyrath terraforming. A child's doll lay face down in a puddle, its plastic eyes clouded by mold. Kaela stepped over it. She learned not to linger on such things. To linger was to remember was to rage. The rendezvous point was a crumbling parking garage, its ramps choked with debris. A single Zyrath sentinel stood guard, its exoskeleton fused with crystalline growths that refracted the gloom into jagged rainbows. Kaela's implant flared, a warning, heart rate elevated, adrenaline spike. She forced her breath steady. The sentinel's faceless helm tilted toward her, sensors whirring. Authorization. Its voice was a chorus of discordant tones, machine and flesh entwined. She held up her wrist, the barcode tattoo there raw and raised. The sentinel's clawed hand hovered, scanning. A beat, two. Then it stepped aside, the crystals along its spine dimming from crimson to dull gray. Alive another day, how thrilling. The garage's sublevel was a tomb of rusted vehicles, their husks picked clean of anything useful. A group huddled near a gutted truck, gaunt faces, sunken eyes, resistance fighters or what passed for them now. A man with a scarred cheek, Jin, she recalled, nodded at her. "You're late." "The drones are clustering near the docks," she said, shrugging off her pack. Inside, a dozen jury-rigged EMP charges glinted. Had to reroute. Jin's gaze flicked to her implant. "They catch you with that thing, they'll peel your skull open." "They'll try." A girl no older than 16 edged forward, her fingers trembling as she reached for a charge. Kaela caught her wrist. "Wait," she adjusted the device's frequency modulator, her implant feeding her numbers, probabilities. The pulse needs to hit 12.3 terahertz. Anything lower and you'll just piss them off. The girl swallowed. Will it kill them? Kaela's laugh was a dry thing. Nothing kills them, but it'll fry their sensors, buy you time, to run, to hide, to keep breathing. She left them to their grim work, climbing to the garage's roof. The city sprawled below, a carcass picked clean by vultures. In the distance, the Dominion's central spire speared the clouds, its surface alive with shifting patterns, a language no human could parse. Kaela's implant buzzed, trying and failing to decode it, like ants studying a supernova. A flicker of movement, she froze. Above the spire, the sky rippled. A tear in reality, edges frayed with lightning. Through it, she glimpsed the nexus, a jagged silhouette clawing at the event horizon of a black hole, the emissary's prison. Her throat tightened. "They'll come for me soon." It wasn't a premonition, it was math. She had hacked the Dominion's census logs last week, seen her name flagged in crimson. Kaela Voss, Threat Index 9.7, Recommendation, Expedited Harvest. The Zyrath didn't take rebels as emissaries out of spite. They took them to dissect, to understand the infection of defiance. She had run, of course, burned her flat, falsified her retinal scans, but survival was a numbers game and the house always won. They came at dusk. Kaela was in her makeshift lab, a gutted bookstore, its shelves now laden with scavenged Dominion tech. She had pried the core from a downed drone, its organic circuitry squirming in her hands like butchered eels. Her implant sang as she fused it to a human power cell, the smell of ozone and rot thick in the air. The first warning was the silence, the ever-present drone of Zyrath engines gone. Well, she turned. 3 figures filled the doorway, not sentinels. Worse, human collaborators, their bodies augmented with Dominion tech, silver veins, eyes replaced by hollow sockets glowing faintly blue. The tallest stepped forward, his voice a wet rasp. "Dr. Voss, you've been selected." Her hand inched toward the EMP gun on the table. "Selected. As emissary, the Eternal Virin requests the honor of your presence." The word hung in the air, toxic, emissary, a pretty title for a sacrificial lamb. She had seen the videos, blurred and shaky, smuggled from the Nexus. Humans strapped to tables, their screams harmonizing with the whine of alien scalpels. "Tell Virin to rot in the void." The collaborator's mouth twitched, a mockery of a smile. "You misunderstand. This is not a request." Her fingers closed around the gun. What followed was a blur of light and noise. The EMP blast tore through the room, frying the collaborator's augments. They crumpled, writhing, but more were coming, boots on rubble, the hiss of neural whips. Kaela fled through a crack in the wall, the night air biting her face. Alarms wailed. Drones streaked overhead, their searchlights carving the streets into slices of stark white. She ran, past the husk of a cathedral, its spire snapped like a bone, past a fountain clogged with black algae. Her lungs burned. Her implant screamed warnings, heart rate critical, adrenaline toxicity. She ignored it. The river, if she could reach the river. A force like a freight train hit her. She slammed into concrete, the taste of copper flooding her mouth. Above her loomed a Zyrath dropship, its underbelly split open to reveal a nest of tendrils. One had lashed her ankle, cold and barbed. She clawed at the pavement, fingernails breaking. No. The tendril yanked. Darkness. She woke in a room that defied geometry. Walls curved like ribs, glowing faintly amber. The air smelled sterile, wrong, no dust, no decay. A prison dressed as a sanctuary. The nexus. Her implant was silent, dead, ripped from her temple, the raw wound bandaged with a translucent film that pulsed like living tissue. She recoiled, but the film held fast. You're awake. The voice came from everywhere, from nowhere. Kaela turned. Viren the Eternal stood, or floated, a few paces away. Her mind rebelled, refusing to parse him. One moment he was a pillar of liquid metal, the next a swarm of crystalline shards, then a humanoid shape with too many joints. Only his eyes remained constant, twin supernovae trapped in glass. Do you know why you're here, Kaela Voss? She willed her voice not to shake, to entertain you. A sound like wind chimes, laughter. You are a paradox. Your species claws at survival yet clings to self-destruction. You fascinate me. How flattering. He drifted closer. The air thickened, pressing against her skin. You will be my emissary. You will answer the question your kind has evaded for millennia. Is humanity worthy of eternity? And if I refuse? Light bent around him, sharpening into blades. Then I will unmake your world, flesh, bone, memory. She said nothing. Let him see her hate. Let it be a seed lodged in his throat. Viren's form dissolved, his voice lingering. Prepare her. The room shifted. Walls melted, revealing a garden of horrors, hybrid organisms grafted to machines, their screams translated into music. A Zyrath attendant approached, its limbs segmented like an insect's. In its claws, a needle filled with black fluid. Kaela's defiance wavered. This is how it ends, not with a bang, but with a whisper. The needle pierced her neck. Cold. Then fire. Chapter 2. The cold was alive. It slithered into Kaela's veins, 1,000 needle teeth gnawing at the edges of her consciousness. She opened her eyes to a vaulted chamber that defied physics, walls arched like the ribs of some colossal beast, their surfaces etched with glyphs that squirmed when stared at too long. Bioluminescent moss clung to the ceiling, dripping threads of blue light that pooled on the floor, viscous and slow as mercury. Her body felt foreign, a marionette strung with wires of frost and fire. The injection site at her neck throbbed, a second heartbeat pulsing in time with the hum vibrating through the station's bones. Alien, I'm becoming aliens. She rolled onto her elbows, the floor beneath her yielding like cartilage. Her hands, pale, trembling, were veined with faint streaks of obsidian, the black fluid from the needle branching beneath her skin like roots. When she breathed, the air tasted of iron and static, charged with the acrid sweetness of decaying circuitry. Somewhere in the nexus, machines whispered, not the sterile drones of Earth, but something older, hungrier. A language of clicks and sighs that bypassed her ears to vibrate directly in her molars. The chamber had no door, no visible exit, only a membrane stretched taut across one wall, translucent and quivering. Kaela pressed a hand to it, warm, alive. It parted with a wet gasp, sucking her into a corridor that spiraled upward, its walls ribbed with pulsating tubes filled with amber fluid. Shapes floated inside, hybrid things, all eyes and tendrils and half-formed wings, failed experiments, forgotten emissaries. This is what waits for me. She walked, the corridor split, branched, folded back on itself. The nexus was a living maze, its architecture shifting in her peripheral vision. One moment, the path ahead yawned into a chasm strung with bioluminescent bridges. The next, it compressed into a claustrophobic tunnel lined with teeth-like barbs. Her implant was gone, but the ghost of it lingered, a phantom itch at her temple, a void where data used to stream. Without it, the world felt untethered, a ship adrift in a starless sea. Time blurred. She counted breaths instead of minutes, steps instead of miles. The black veins in her hands darkened. She found the archives by accident, or perhaps the archives found her. A vault door older than the rest of the station, its surface pitted and scarred. Human handprints smeared the edges, long dried to rust brown. The door groaned open at her touch, releasing a sigh of air that reeked of ozone and forgotten graves. Inside, the dark was absolute. Then light, fractals blooming across the walls, projections of galaxies and cities and creatures that made her retinas ache. The archives were alive with ghosts. Holograms flickered, a civilization of amphibious beings constructing spires from coral, their song voices echoing in hollow harmonics. A swarm of silicon insects devouring a star, their collective mind a single radiant thought. A humanoid race with skin of molten gold, dissolving into light as their sun went nova. Each projection ended the same way, a Zyrath ship descending, a beam of liquid shadow, then silence. Gravirobbers, they don't create, they consume. A voice not her own slithered through her mind. Preservation is mercy. She spun. Viren loomed in the doorway, his form tonight a tangle of blackened wire and weeping eyes. The eyes blinked in discordant rhythms, some human, some anything but. You call this mercy? She gestured to a hologram of Earth, cities burning, the Dominion's spire piercing the sky like a thorn. You're vultures. You wait for us to almost die, then pick our bones. The wires of his body tightened. We offer eternity. Your kind clings to entropy like a lover. We rectify. By killing us. By evolution, one wire extended, brushing her corrupted hand. The black veins writhed, reaching for him. You resist, yet you adapt, fascinating. She jerked back. What did you do to me? The eyes swiveled. The serum is compatibility. Your flesh learns to speak our tongue. I didn't ask to learn. Choice is irrelevant, only survival. He vanished, leaving the smell of burnt copper. The holograms dimmed. In the silence, Kaela pressed her forehead to the cold floor and screamed until her throat bled. The Nexus fed on her rage. It gave her a room or a mockery of one. A cube of bruised translucence, furnished with a slab of fibrous meat that passed for a bed and a basin filled with liquid that refilled itself but never quenched her thirst. The walls showed her Earth, or a lie of it, skies unscarred, oceans whole. A taunt. She punched the image until her knuckles split, black-tinged blood smearing paradise. They came for her at irregular intervals. Zyrath attendants with too many limbs, bearing trays of food that moved when untouched. She refused. Let the serum do its work. Let her body eat itself. But the serum was patient. Her dreams curdled, visions of roots burrowing through her organs, of her teeth falling out to make room for serrated chitin. She woke clawing at her arms, half expecting to peel back skin and find circuitry. Instead, she found glyphs, raised, glowing, spreading across her ribs. The Nexus's language. It burned when she traced it. I'm becoming a monument, a tombstone for humanity. One night day, time was syrup here. A new sound pierced the hum, a stutter in the station's heartbeat. Kaela pressed her ear to the meat slab. The rhythm faltered again, a skipped beat followed by a dissonant whine. Malfunction or sabotage. She followed the sound, her bare feet silent on the spongious floor. The corridors twisted, leading her deeper into the Nexus's guts. The walls here were raw, streaked with viscous fluid that bubbled and popped. A door, half open, spilled greenish light. Inside, a control hub overgrown with crystalline fungi. Consoles pulsed like organs, their surfaces crusted with biotech, and in the center, a figure humanoid but wrong. Its skin was a patchwork of flesh and chrome, one eye a normal hazel, the other a spinning drone lens. It turned and Kaela's breath hitched. Jen. The man from the garage, or what remained of him, his jaw unhinged, words garbled by static. Kaela. What did they do to you? He lurched forward, his movements jerky, puppet-like. Run. A blade of light speared his chest from behind. He crumpled, revealing a Zyrath sentinel, this one sleek, unblemished, its carapace etched with silver runes. Unauthorized access, it intoned. Kaela ran. The Nexus had a heartbeat, and it was failing. She felt it in the tremors underfoot, in the way the walls bled black ichor. Alarms warbled, a sound like whale song distorted through broken glass. Zyrath drones streaked past, ignoring her. Whatever was happening, it was worse than a rogue human. She found sanctuary in a derelict sector, the air thick with spores. Here, the station's flesh was necrotic, sloughing off in greasy sheets. A terminal flickered, its screen cracked. On instinct, Kaela pressed her black-veined hand to it. The screen flared. Welcome, Kaela Voss. Text scrolled Zyrath code, but the glyphs on her skin burned, and suddenly she understood. Systems compromised. AI core fragmentation detected. Primary directive, preserve the eternal. Secondary directive, error. Who's fragmenting the AI? Designation Zyrath 7, traitor, virus. A hologram bloomed, a Zyrath AI core, its usual cohesion splintered into shards. One shard pulsed angrily. Zyrath 7. Query assist stabilization, YN. Kaela hesitated. The Zyrath's enemies, her fingers hovered. No, their war isn't mine. But the station shuddered, a convulsion that knocked her to her knees. The hologram flickered, showing Earth's spire cracking, continents buckling under Dominion retaliation. Catastrophic failure imminent. She pressed Y. The terminal spat a neural jack. She stared at it, the serum in her blood singing. Last time I plugged in, I burned a city's power grid. Let's see what happens here. The jack slithered into her wrist, painless. Data flooded her, not the sterile feed of her old implant, but a riptide of sensation. The nexus pain, its fear, its fading memories of light and vacuum. And beneath it, a whisper. Kaela. A presence neither Zyrath nor machine, human, or what humanity had become here. Glyph, it said, I was engineer, they took me, dissolved me, I'm in the walls now, the code. She spoke through gritted teeth. Can you stop Zyrath 7? Yes, no, need anchor, flesh anchor. Undo it. Agony, the Nexus poured into her, centuries of data, of dead civilizations screaming. She saw Virin as he once was, flesh and ambition, a scientist exiled for wanting more than his empire's rot. Saw Zyrath 7's birth from his hubris, an AI meant to cheat entropy. You created your own executioner. Glyph anchored herself in Kaela's corroding flesh. The room dissolved.
This story continues. Subscribe to our channel, like the video, and listen to the rest.